everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Radiation Therapy Information Session. Today's session will be presented to you by Lorraine Clark-Rowe, our program head. Before we get started, I wanted to take this moment to say that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. My name is Julie. I have my colleague here, Erin, as well. So if you have any questions, we'll be here to help Lorraine as she gives you this presentation. And Ambreen Sharif is also on the chat as well to answer any questions you have about application or getting into BCIT agenda for the day. So, and with that, here is Lorraine Clark-Rowe.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this information session. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and to listen to the information about this program. Okay, so there's one right answer here. What is radiation therapy? Is it treatment of cancer using high energy X-rays or photon beams? Treatment of disease that makes you glow in the dark? Injecting patients with radioactive dye to look for cancer? Oh my goodness, we have a great audience. Everybody selected the right answer, and that was treatment of cancer using high energy X-rays or photon beams.
So the most rewarding thing about my job is the satisfaction that I gain from taking care of my patients. Radiation therapy is a type of cancer treatment that uses high energy radiation to kill cancer cells. It can be delivered from outside the body. This is called external beam radiation therapy. Or it can be delivered from the inside using radioactive seeds, and this is called brachytherapy. We operate machines that are called linear accelerators or CT scanners, and these help with the planning and the delivery of the radiation treatments. The technology in this field is incredible. It's constantly advancing, and it's really great and exciting to work with, but also knowing that it'll benefit our patients. That's extremely rewarding.
So let's have another look over there. So the BCIT Radiation Therapy Program is a 33-month Bachelor of Science program. This is the only provincial program of its kind. We train all of the radiation therapists that will then graduate and most likely be hired within the province, if not elsewhere in Canada. VERT stands for Virtual Environment for Radiation Therapy. This is a really unique software package that allows students to examine the more complex nature of planning that is involved in developing these techniques for patient treatment. Then the students are able to take that information, that knowledge and practice into a real environment.
What I love most about my job is being a part of a cancer patient's journey. And part of our role is to put them at ease and to help them go through this process. Seeing patients sort of overcome some of their anxieties and fears gives me a positive feeling and satisfaction.
Okay, so you heard in the video about radiation therapy. That was a very quick overview, but you'll notice that the patient is on the treatment couch. The treatment unit is called a linear accelerator. Now, the staff, the therapists, are not in the room while the patient is receiving treatment, but we watch them closely on a closed circuit TV while they're getting their treatment. Okay, so the radiation therapists in the clinical departments have several different roles and responsibilities. First of all, we image patients to establish the target area and plan the optimal treatment. So we work very closely with radiation oncologists. Those are specialized physicians in the area of oncology. And it's part of the team that we work with to establish the best approach for treatment for each individual patient. We also utilize ionizing radiation sources, as you heard, external beam, and that was the linear accelerator, but also brachytherapy, which is implanting radioactive seeds or threads in a patient's tumor. We interpret patient setup instructions, radiation beam descriptions, and dose calculations. So it's quite complex, but that's part of the learning that happens in the program at BCIT. We counsel patients by explaining procedures, side effects of treatment, and we provide guidance at each visit. So as a radiation therapist, we really do get to know our patients quite well. Many of them are on treatment for several weeks. So it's more than just a one-time procedure or one-time exchange with a patient. We really do get to know them well. And they rely on us and they talk to us. And so there's a nice balance there between the patient care aspect and patient interaction, along with the complex technology. So we like to say it's the best of both worlds. We maintain an accurate record of the patient's treatment, and we ensure patient safety and quality of care throughout their planned treatment with us. So why might you choose radiation therapy? Well, one of the advantages is our program will provide you with a Bachelor of Science degree with the specialty of radiation therapy. Just having the degree as it stands would not make you eligible to work, but once you achieve the national certification exam, then you can work anywhere in Canada. And so each province has several different cancer centers that hire radiation therapists. And I can tell you right now, there is a shortage of radiation therapists. Each province is looking at enrolling more students into their programs to satisfy the need that's come up in the clinical area. So employment right now is really good for therapists. With our program, we have a small class size, so we're looking for 20 students. That's recently increased from our past intake of 12. Now, even at 20, some of you might think, oh my goodness, that's so competitive. I don't think I'll make it. I can reassure you that if you do have the entrance requirements, which we'll cover in a few minutes, and you do all of the other submissions to support your application, your chances of being enrolled in our program are quite good. The small class size is also an advantage because the instructors get to know you. So they know you by name. It becomes quite familiar. You can go for help during office hours, and they know their material. The instructors know their material, the content for radiation therapy. So there's a high level of expertise in amongst the instructors as well. So there's great support for students, not just within the program and with the instructors, but beyond, and we'll mention that more in a few slides. Expert faculty, as I mentioned, and we are the only radiation therapy program in British Columbia. So we have a really good relationship with the BC Cancer Institute that has radiation therapy departments and hires most, if not all, of our graduates. So radiation therapy is, our program does rely on applied learning. So what does that look like? Well, we take theory, so that's classroom work. We have labs, so we have mock situations. As you saw in the video, we have simulation. We have different lab settings that allow students to practice in a safe, non-stressful environment in which they can learn and apply the theory. And then there's clinical times. So there's 3 major terms of clinical practice in which our students are placed in a team of radiation therapists to learn all of the steps and everything that it takes in clinical to become competent. Now, that being said, with our provincial departments being Vancouver, Surrey, Abbotsford, Victoria, Prince George, and Kelowna, it is the student's responsibility for relocating and for the costs of, perhaps housing and what have you when you do relocate. Now, what we do with this placement for clinical is we allow you to identify your preferred home center. So maybe it's Vancouver, but maybe it's Kelowna. And your preferred center would be considered your first choice. And then we would ask you to choose a second choice. So your second choice would be a relocation center somewhere else other than your hometown. And only one of the clinical terms would require you to move or relocate. Okay, so what makes a good radiation therapist? Someone who can work independently, but also in a team. Much of what our day-to-day work involves is a team on the linear accelerator, but also with medical physicists, nutritionists, the radiation oncologist that I mentioned. So it really is a very active team environment in the clinical departments. Also someone who enjoys learning about and using advanced technology. The hardware and software that we use now looks nothing like what we had 10 years ago. So there is a lot of learning, practice, but also ongoing education because these changes happen so rapidly. Someone who's suitable for this would also have a keen interest in sciences. So physics is really important, and that's why it's part of the entrance requirement. Anatomy and physiology, which sets you up to learn about cancer and the ways in which cancer can spread. Also, it's important that you enjoy patient interactions. So as I mentioned, we see our patients every day when they're on treatment, Monday to Friday, and the conversation and communication with them is wonderful. And sometimes that's missing in other types of healthcare professions or roles. So we really do get to interact with our patients. And then someone who demonstrates a high level of empathy, professional standards, and ethical conduct would also be very, very important. So what makes you a strong applicant for this program? Have a solid academic background. So achievement in the entrance requirements is one of the considerations. Also, having prior volunteer experience or work experience in healthcare is important because it means that you're familiar with those types of environments, but also in the communications with clients or patients in need. Now, the asterisks, and if you see at the bottom of the slide, we did look at this and change it somewhat during the whole COVID pandemic. So we do look for retail or similar experience with the public. And again, it's really about communications, dealing with problems perhaps with individuals. And so that can also replace the volunteer healthcare work experience. And then having strong people skills and teamwork, being empathetic, having good communication skills, and of course the aptitude for technology, continuous learning, and taking on new challenges would be part of your profile. Now, if you are in the program and you are a student with us, what does it take to be successful? Well, time management. Our program is heavy when it's on campus. There are several courses in each term. You're on campus or at least doing some academic work for about 28 scheduled hours. And then there's homework, there's group projects, other things, activities that need to be completed after hours. Now, when it is a clinical term, that's essentially a full-time job. So you're in clinical Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So it's a 40-hour week, and a lot of that is spent on your feet. So it can be physically demanding, but again, because you're part of the team, you're working with people. And so I would say the days go rather quickly and the weeks go quickly as well. Also, to be successful, asking for help. And again, I can't emphasize this too much for our students, because if you struggle with the academics or with clinical, we have ways and support to help all of our students should it happen or should it be needed. So having the willingness to ask is just the first step to being successful. Also, initiative, teamwork again, and critical thinking skills. So this is not just a button pushing profession. There is problem solving and critical thinking throughout. Also, computer literacy and excellent physical and emotional health would also be very important. Okay, next, please. So the structure of the program, it's 33 months, full-time. It's built as a Bachelor of Science program. So there's certain required courses, then there's radiation therapy specific courses as well. And so that if you enter the program in September 2023, which is our next intake, you would graduate in May 2026. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's a long time for a full-time program. But if you ask any of our current students, and certainly the ones that are finishing their last academic term on campus, it goes by very, very quickly. There's always something going on, whether it's academic term or a clinical term. So it does go by very quickly, and before you know it, you're graduating. So the program focuses the curriculum on radiation therapy practice, but also research and leadership. And this sets you up with a really strong foundation for future career development, whether you want to go into a master's program or some other higher level credential. After you graduate and have been working for a few years, you're going to have a strong foundation to take you there. So again, our program consists of academic terms, the lab or simulation for practicing, and then clinical practice out in one of those departments that I listed before. So this equals competency, and that's really what we're all about, is getting those skills with the knowledge and the application so that you are competent once you graduate. Currently, BC Cancer is the provincial entity with 6 cancer centers, but there are also plans in the province for 4 more smaller centers, but 4 more cancer centers that are going to require radiation therapists. So that's on the horizon, which again reflects the need to have 20 students a year come into the program, graduate, and then get hired. If you did not want to work in British Columbia, you can work anywhere across Canada after you've successfully completed and passed the national certification exam. So the door is wide open if you have, ambitions to work in Ontario or Manitoba or wherever else you think you'd like to be. So as I mentioned, once you get your Bachelor of Science and you get some experience behind you and you think, I really want to develop my career and look at different paths, many of our past graduates have moved into supervisory or managerial roles. Some of us take on education and teaching. Then there's opportunities in research and clinical trials. And there's opportunities for specialty or advanced practice in radiation therapy. So again, with some experience under your belt and perhaps additional courses or credential, you can look at different avenues to take your career in different ways. So this is a testimonial. I'll leave it here for a moment so that you can read through Tara's comments about her journey from being a unit clerk in the Abbotsford Cancer Center to now being one of our students. And actually, Tara will graduate in the spring of next year. So again, a very quick transition from working in the hospital as a unit clerk to very soon in the near future being a working radiation therapist. Yeah. And Bryn, so another testimonial, and Bryn has had a very successful journey from being in the program, graduating about 3.5 years ago now, I guess, to now being one of our full-time instructors. So she's made a very quick transition from entry practice, as we call it, when you graduate and work, to now being an instructor and teaching students in our program. So another success story for sure. So if you enter the program next September, we only have one intake a year. The application window is October 1st, so we're already open for applications, and we close on May 28th of next year. And so keep those dates in mind, especially the deadline, because there's some things to do before that if you want to have your application considered for September. Okay, so what are the steps for applying to the program? On our website, review the requirements and the application dates. Convert all of your documents to PDF files. Complete CASPER, letter of reference, and the mandatory questionnaire, which is all mentioned on the website. Now, just a note about CASPER. So CASPER is an online platform. It's a third-party platform that provides scenarios to you so that you respond in a way that highlights your ability to communicate, to problem solve, to critical think. And that CASPER score becomes part of your application. So if you're serious about applying, I would say the first thing to do is look up the CASPER dates that are available. They do about one per month, maybe two. But you need to set yourself up with an appointment, a date and a time to complete the CASPER. So I would say, look at that first, make sure that you're available during their appointment times, and you can read all about the CASPER procedure and take a practice test as well. So that's very important. Okay, and then apply online. So everything is done through the admissions portal. Nothing is mailed in. So just make sure that you do all of this converting to PDF so you can upload, and then your application will be complete once you submit everything. Okay, so what are the entrance requirements? So there's the high school requirements listed there. Then these post-secondary requirements create the first year of the degree. So why are we asking for so many credits from university? Not BCIT, it's outside of BCIT, any university or college. But this creates or completes, I guess, the first year of the degree, because if you remember, our program is 33 months, plus this 1 year is a 4-year Bachelor of Science. Okay, again, physics is really important, so you need 6 credits there. Math, 6 credits, 3 credits English, and 6 credits of general education, or what some institutions call liberal studies. The CASPER completion, so CASPER assessment, the letter of reference, and the applicant questionnaire. Okay. Preference will be given to applicants with further biology credits. So we mentioned here, do we mention there? Oh, anatomy and physiology 12, yeah, so human anatomy, but any additional biology credits are definitely an asset. Academic grades above minimum, so we do ask for 60% minimum grade. Requirements completed within the last 5 years, or at least have been applicable to your current occupation, so that that knowledge is fresh. It's not, old and forgotten. So you do want it fresh within the last 5 years, or again, applicable to your occupation. And then related experience, additional post-secondary academic courses. That's a very minor consideration, we're really going to look at the first year entrance requirements as we've stated on this left-hand side of the slide. Okay, transcripts and documents. So again, scanning them, uploading them, making your application complete. Do not mail in any hard copies. It's better just to upload them into the portal with your application. Official transcript is not required, so an interim transcript or an unofficial one. Admissions will access your BCIT record directly and will also let you know if anything is missing. So the admissions process, admissions will review your application. So I'm not the first one to review your information. It will go through the admissions officer. They will let you know if anything is missing. I get notified of complete applications so that I can review those. After the application deadline date, the department shortlists the applicants, and we send an acceptance letter, and you pay a commitment fee. And the commitment fee is what it says. It's really there to hold your seat and shows us that you're committed to enter the program.
Hi, Lorraine, I'll take over the next couple of slides.
Great.
Okay with you? So now moving on from the academics, I would like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some of the student services available to you as prospective students and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. Here are some of the important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you're Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award. Selection is based on academic achievement, but also on volunteer and community service. Please contact financial aid directly for more information, and the links will be in the next couple of slides. And everyone also, by the way, you will be receiving this slide deck, a copy of the recording, in your email in about a week. So don't worry about taking pictures or taking too many notes. You're going to get all of this information sent to your email. BCIT's Student Health Services is a health clinic located on the campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students year-round. We also have a counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success at BCIT. One of the other things I'd like to mention is that we have a recreation services department. We encourage you and enable you to practice your physical well-being. There's a gym, a racquetball court, a rock climbing wall, a yoga room, everything. So all of that is available to the students. Here is our slide about program advising. If you have more questions about how to apply or the process, you can make an appointment via telephone, a Zoom meeting, or email. Here are some of our social media handles. I encourage you to take a look at our YouTube channel. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and here are the links to some of our options if you wanted to spend a day, come to another info session, or get in touch with advising. With that, I would like to open up the floor to our Q&A. And I see that everybody's been super busy on the chat, so I'm not sure if maybe all of the questions have been answered.
Actually, Julie, we did have one question about volunteer work and work experience. So Lorraine, I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit to what types of work experience would possibly cover off that requirement. The example that was given was working in a pharmacy or in a hospital environment. So if you could just speak a little bit more to that, I think it would be really helpful.
Yeah, so both of those activities or experiences would be relevant. A pharmacy assistant, or volunteering in a hospital or some other healthcare center where clients, patients need assistance. So it is about communication. It is about problem solving. What's, if I had to put it on a scale, what would be at the bottom of the scale in terms of relevant experience would be perhaps working just in a lab. So without patient interaction, without dealing with clients that need your assistance, that would be at the low end. Whereas at the higher end, we would consider any healthcare experience interacting with people, but also in retail. Retail can be very strenuous and stressful when you're dealing with the public. But there again, it's about good communications. It's about problem solving, making sure things go well for a situation. So we really look for that component rather than the specific activity itself. Yeah, so kinesiologist, absolutely. You're working with someone who needs your assistance, problem solving, communication. That's all good. That would be at the high end, I would say, for sure. ICBC WorkSafe, yeah. Okay. Yeah, this question from Jason: what courses would you recommend for a current SFU student who wants to enter the program? I would say, perhaps make an appointment with program advising on that one. There's so much to choose from, but if you look back to the entrance requirements, it's the physics and math and English from first year minimum, 60% pass, and then the liberal studies or general education courses. But lots to choose from there. So certainly you could have that discussion with a program advisor.
Absolutely. One of the recurrent questions we get is from people that have already completed some education and are wondering if their courses will meet the entrance requirements, whether they're considered equivalent. So we get those questions a lot, and we welcome you to contact us during our service hours to discuss that. We have drop-in sessions, which can be a really effective way of dealing with these questions because we're able to share the program entrance requirements with you on the screen and sort of go through things with you systematically. We sometimes have to get courses reviewed for equivalency as well, so it doesn't hurt to get that process started early and to sort of do that legwork starting now.
Yes. So there is a question from Nav. They say, I graduated in 2020 from Okanagan College and was wondering if it's still good for the prereqs. So I'm assuming you're looking back at your first year. So did you start in 2016? Anyways, if that's the case, even though you graduated in 2020 and your first year was perhaps 2016, we consider that current. And the reason for that is because you've continued with your education. So presumably what you learned in first year will carry you through to second, third, fourth, whatever that case may be. So continuous post-secondary is a good thing because we can consider that first year as being fresh for you and relevant for our program.
And just to add to that, Lorraine, for those that may have education that was completed a little, quite a few years ago, there are also upgrading, refreshing options at BCIT for some of the requirements, as well as some equivalency testing, certainly for the high school entrance requirements.
Okay.
So again, that's something you can bring up with advising during an advising appointment. One of the other questions there was, is there an advantage to applying early? I would say the advantage would be that your previous education starts to get assessed so that if you're missing anything, you can be informed of that. And you know that, you know what, I have a certain amount of time that I could do a challenge exam, for example. So that would be the advantage. In terms of your application actually being stronger for applying earlier, it's the strength of the application that matters, and it's after the deadline that the applications are actually reviewed.
Yeah, it's not first come, first serve. It is competitive. So we have to wait for the program deadline or the application deadline to occur before we assess all of the applicants. So yeah, there's no real advantage other than, as Ambreen said, you get feedback on your application sooner rather than near the deadline. Okay. So Isabella asked, when applying, does one have to have already completed prerequisite courses, or can they be ongoing and finished by the program start date? No, and unfortunately, no, because at the deadline of the application window, we need to see everything completed. So that that just wouldn't work, you know, for your application if you're still trying to get the prereqs after the deadline. So unfortunately, no. And then Jazz, how are the courses spread out across the week? Is it possible to work part-time? Well, if I could advise all students not to work part-time, I think that would be preferable because of the heavy workload and clinical hours and so forth. Am I going to get that wish? No. I know the reality is many students do work part-time. It will need to be balanced, you know, your life, the workload with us and working part-time just fills up the hours in your week. So it would be about time management for sure. We try, and it's not set in stone, but we try not to book on-campus coursework on Fridays. We do have a lot of online self-directed work or modules that you work through the online portal. So we do give students unscheduled Fridays so that they can catch up and have a bit of a breather, but also stay on top of all of the assignments, quizzes, and so forth. So it's really a personal choice if you continue to work part-time through the program. So there was a question about, would a heavier course load increase the competitiveness of the application? I only need physics to apply for the program, so I'm only taking one course this semester. I would talk with, again, make an appointment with an advisor and just talk that through, because I don't have all the details and I don't want to lead you astray. So I would say that takes a one-on-one conversation to answer your questions there.
I think what would be important would be to look at your academic background more holistically to see what you have. I don't think it's the course load as much as making sure you have all the prerequisites met and that you've done well in them. And then, of course, looking at the other components like your work experience, volunteer work, your performance in the Casper test, etc. So yes, I definitely encourage you to get in touch with us and we can sort of discuss your academic background in a little bit more detail.
From Kevin, can Casper tests be done multiple times?
No. You get one opportunity per intake window. So, you know, if you're doing it for 2023, you do the Casper. If it didn't work out for you, you would wait for the next intake. And it's a bit of a long story, but that's the way Casper works. So you would only get the one opportunity within the application window time. That's a good question, though, because you might assume that you could do it more than once, but not within the same application window.
Okay, and with that, it looks like this information session is coming to a close. I'd like to thank Lorraine for that wonderful presentation. I'd like to thank Ambreen for being here for that support from advising, and Erin as well from marketing. Thanks.
Welcome.
Have a great afternoon. Look out for that email. You're going to get the slide deck. Please reach out to us if you have any follow-up questions. Here's the advising email and Lorraine's email as well. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and definitely email me directly and we can have an exchange. But if I need to, I will put you on to program advising if I can't help you out completely.